Welcome to another episode of Who Would Win, a show that completely ignores anything important happening in the world and instead focuses on a fictional battle between characters from the worlds of comics, sci-fi, and fantasy. I'm your host, James Gavsie, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only, the icon himself, Eric Holmes. In today's episode, quite possibly the most iconic villain who can choke you from across the room collides with a wisecracking, kind of immortal who treats bullets like a mild inconvenience and pain like an improv prompt. In one corner, you have Darth Vader, the Empire's unstoppable enforcer, master of the Force, walking tank in a cape, and the guy who turns hallways into horror movies. And in the other corner, you have Deadpool, Marvel's shameless Chaos Goblin, Chaos Goblin just being a thing we made up, with a healing factor that refuses to quit, an arsenal that never stops, and the mouth of brash talks Sith philosophy while getting bisected. Yeah, I said it, bisected. As usual, I did the patented Who Would Win Google test just as many times this matchup has been discussed. Obviously, this matchup has not only been discussed, it's turned into insanely heated debates and has led to the downfall of several, famous celebrities who took the wrong person in this matchup, but it's never gotten the Who Would Win treatment until today, that is. Eric, I have to know, what are your thoughts on today's matchup?
Yeah, this is going to be a very fun one. And I think it's going to get a little wild, which we like here on the Who Would Win show, right? And once again, it is us bringing this battle to the world. So,
it is. It is. Hold on. I have a little bit of an observation I need to make, Eric. You're talking a little like you're weighted down, like it's something's like you're kind of like not feeling. You're definitely different from the last time you were on the show. What is happening?
All right, I'll admit it. As you might recall, I got a little excited about my last victory I had, and I went and had a night on the town at the local BK off of Sepulveda.
Let's just say, are you serious? You went there?
Yeah, let's just say that the cholesterol kind of is in my pores. You see what I'm saying? So you might notice a gentle, kind of glistening of my body over here.
I didn't know what that was. I was going to get like you a towel or something, but
I know we don't allow drinking on the set every day, but it was like, you sell vodka from the pores. I'm smelling grease from the pores.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our esteemed judge Tadeo, kind of jumping in on the show without being introduced because he's the judge of the show. By the way, you're not wrong. I'm smelling.
It was delicious.
Was it? Was it worth it? Because I'm smelling a combination of.
But when again, I'm going back.
Grease from both a burger, grease from bacon, and a little bit of what's that smell? Oh yeah, despair.
Yes. And utter happiness.
Really? Do you have any? Are you questioning your life choices? Any regrets whatsoever?
Yeah, I should have got it doubled. Of course I got regrets.
Okay, let's speaking of horrible life decisions, let's talk about this battle.
Yes.
Darth Vader.
So I'm excited, but a little sluggish. It was good.
It's a little sluggish. Okay, so was Darth Vader right after he kind of had his Burger King experience on Mustafar and lost both his legs and everything. Okay, listen, so we've got this battle. Just to kind of pull back the curtain, a lot of people have been asking about this. We used Darth Vader earlier this year for an episode, or the previous season, I should say. But this is a battle that kind of came to me, and the first time it was suggested, I thought it was a joke, right? I'm like, why would you really kind of bring this together? Darth Vader, who's an insanely serious character, versus Deadpool, who's the opposite and anything but serious. Why would you bring this together? And yet at the same time, it kind of makes sense. And even to go a little bit further, why isn't Disney kind of coming up with a Who Would Win series like this? Because they own both these characters.
Hello.
They can do these types of matchups all day, every day. I'm not saying I pitched this idea to Disney. I'm also not saying I didn't pitch this. I'm just saying this could be a great thing. What's your impression of these two characters, Judge Tadeo?
Well, what I love is you've got the best humor in a dark character like Deadpool, and then you've got just the ultimate gangster, like the deepest voice to ever exist on TV or movies or in a series. I can read, when you read a comic, you can feel the depth and just the coldness in his heart. So you've got humor versus fear, and this is a wonderful epic battle that should be on Disney, but only if we're there hosting it.
Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be an epic battle. Eric, I hope you can get past the sluggishness of whatever is weighing you down from your eating experience from well over a week ago. Might I add, a week ago.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It couldn't have been worth it that much. By the way, I got to ask you, how much did you spend on this extravaganza? Did it break the ceiling of the most expensive item on Burger King? In other words, did you spend more than $15?
Oh, it was just under. That's why. I guess.
When the ultimate eating experience of a restaurant is just under $15.
It keeps getting better and better.
Does it though?
I was like, wow. And fountain, refillable. cup. It was a big cup. I was like, man.
You know the problem is I hate to say Burger King. I think even your like fountain drinks are made with lard. That's the problem with Burger King. It's just you can't get away with
something special.
It's something special in air quotes. All right, listen, this is all great, but we have to get to today's battle. But before we get to the battle, let's go over the basics of a who would win match. Now, each debater will make 3 points. Keep in mind that the who would win match is a random encounter in a neutral location with no prior knowledge or prep time allowed, and the debater has to stay within the confines of the character. And when it comes to determining the winner, it's the judge who has the final say and will determine which character lost based on death, incapacitation, or battlefield removal, with no outside interference being allowed. Remember, the bottom line in a who would win match is that for one side to get the win, their opponent must be somehow incapacitated for a minimum of 2 minutes where they pose no threat whatsoever. And now, let's get to the tail of the tape for both of our combatants. Eric, please give us the details for Deadpool.
Deadpool, born out of pain, experiments, and pure bad decision making like what I did after I won. Let me see how it is. Deadpool is Marvel's most dangerous punchline. Wade Wilson, my friends, is a lethal mercenary with elite combat skill, an insane arsenal, and a healing factor. So stubborn, it turns literally dismemberment into a temporary inconvenience. He's fought heroes, monsters, ninjas, and of course a lot of cosmic weirdness that we're kind of all into, I would assume. Usually while talking the entire time, he is a yapper. The problem with Deadpool isn't that he's the strongest, it's that he's relentless, unpredictable, and hard to stop permanently. If Vader's plan is fear and that voice and control, Deadpool's plan is chaos, bullets, and sure, cut me in half, I'll be back in a minute anyway.
That is Deadpool, actually. That's exactly Deadpool, yeah. And that's a scary character, unless you're Darth Vader, because he's got answers to everything Deadpool can do. Now, here are the facts for Darth Vader. Forged in war, tragedy, and impossible power, Darth Vader isn't just the Emperor's right hand. He's the Empire's personal apocalypse. Once a gifted Jedi, now a Sith enforcer sealed inside black armor, Vader combines brutal lightsaber mastery with the Force like it's a second set of hands. He doesn't fight to impress. He fights to end you. And whether he's cutting through rebels in a corridor or crushing a starship pilot's throat without looking up, Vader moves with one purpose: total control. If Deadpool thinks this is going to be a goofy gunfight, Vader's here to turn it into a silent horror scene. And now you have the facts on both opponents today. Do you have any questions before we get started?
Wow, I just like this lineup. I don't have any questions. I'm just intrigued to see how Deadpool plans to approach Darth Vader, because I don't think the humor is going to win him over.
No, there's
That's
no.
What I want to see the approach, because there's not going to be conversation. Darth Vader doesn't even want to talk to his son.
Wow. Okay. That's some deep insight right there from the judge.
He's not lying, obviously.
Well, I mean, he did for a while, and then things kind of didn't go out well for him. And yeah, they're not talking too much these days. So, okay, you've got Deadpool, who's absolutely the epitome of Canadian fighting, right? Sarcasm, quick jokes, what have you, but absolute badassery. You've got Darth Vader, who's just about, no, I'm going to take you out, and very few words and just a lot of action. I won't stop until you're done. This is ready to be this is absolutely an epic matchup. Eric, there's a responsibility to matchups like this. Are you ready to bring it?
I'm ready. I didn't know Canadian fighting was a thing.
Oh, totally.
Oh, okay. I mean, besides you, but yeah, you're the one export out of Canada and the Heart Foundation.
George St. Pierre.
Okay, GSP. Yeah.
And by the way, don't forget the person with the craziest battle capabilities of all time, who can just render someone absolutely done in a second. Celine Dion.
Oh man. But that's Shania Twain. Oof.
Yeah.
It's a good looking lady. All right, I'll digress.
If you don't find Celine Dion to your liking?
Celine's cool, but hey, Shania, if you hear this episode, you give me a shout. I'll leave my social at the end when we finish.
Why are you looking at me and smiling while you're saying that? I have no connection to Shania.
Oh, damn it, James. You're worth nothing.
This shakes me to my core when someone's like, if you could just tell her that I'm like, no, I can't.
If you get over to Ottawa for me, we can talk just a little bit if you don't mind.
It's not better. That's not better. All right, let's get to today's battle. Eric, go ahead and hit us your point number one.
Yes, I want to get into Deadpool's powers, all right? Consider him the regenerating gunfighter with just under a ton problems, okay? Deadpool isn't the guy who hits the hardest. We got it. He's a guy who won't stay down long enough for your win condition to matter. Wade Wilson's healing factor is the headline. This is a very big thing for in his favor, obviously, for Deadpool, okay? But the part people also undersell is that it's stapled onto a body that's already enhanced past human limits and trained to weaponize every ugly second of a fight. And these fights are very ugly. We've all seen them. Marvel's own character profile leans hard on his healing factor plus his elite combat skill. And it's the combo that makes him a nightmare matchup. I also want to get into his strength. Okay, depending on the era handbook, Deadpool's typically placed around the enhanced / low superhuman tier, commonly cited at roughly 1,000 pounds, which is about half a ton. So not Hulk, but absolutely, I can throw you through furniture all day and possibly, a wall or two. Okay. His speed, consistently portrayed as superhumanly fast compared to other normal humans. So not a speedster, more like the fastest, most annoying knife fighter you've ever seen. All right. So Marvel's own power grid also rates his speed notably higher than his raw strength. Also, his reflexes. This is where he's literally gross. Like he's sick. His fights. He's like a little parkour assassin. I mean, hater like parkour, but this guy got some parkour in him. All right, with zero self-preservation instinct, which matters for a non-Deadpool type parkour person, but not for Deadpool. Literally because he'll take a hit on purpose if it puts him in stabbing range. This guy he's insane. He doesn't care. Now add the real superpower. It's his regeneration that turns fatal into just temporary. The best comic example of how ridiculous it gets is the evil Deadpool arc, okay, where discarded Deadpool body parts are enough to become a threat again. The message being, even when you finish him, you may have created a sequel. All right, so bottom line, Deadpool is a super agile, super fast, half a ton range murder clown with a healing factor that makes incapacitate him for 2 minutes feel like trying to keep a blender unplugged while it's screaming at you. And all that, James, is my point number one.
All right, so you're pretty much just describing like anyone from Regina, Saskatchewan, which is where he's from. By the way, it is pronounced Regina. Why? Because why say Regina? There's no great actors named Regina. There's no like cool
Regina
Hollywood.
Pritchett.
There's a ton of great actors named Regina, by the way. That's just the insanity. So imagine you had to grow up in Canada, right? And you're from Saskatchewan, which in itself has a lot of issues. Just like I'm from Ottawa. Saskatchewan's like, where none of us want to go to Saskatchewan. Sorry, people from Saskatchewan.
Sorry to
where
hold.
you can buy season tickets to the Rough Riders with bales of hay. That was quite some time ago, but that was a thing. All right, so imagine now the pain. Yeah, I'm not kidding. By the way, imagine the pain of having to grow up in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Whoa. Does Jeremy have to FCC? Don't they listen? Do we have to bleep that out? Like,
what's that?
The word you just said?
Regina?
Yeah.
No, that's how it's pronounced.
It's a real city.
Oh,
it's Regina, Saskatchewan.
I was getting in any trouble. Okay.
No, it's Regina. By the way, I would have friends from other countries come in, right? Like during when I went to university in Ottawa, and I had friends from different countries that were there, and they're like, "Hey, so just really quick, how do you pronounce that city in Saskatchewan?" And I said, "Oh, Regina." They're like, and they would laugh hysterically, and I'm like, I see why you're laughing. Anyway, so imagine you're from Regina, Saskatchewan, and you have to deal with all of that, and that explains a lot of what's happening with Deadpool. Now, my real rebuttal, I should say. His healing factor is ridiculous, but there are so many examples where he gets dismembered and it takes time for him to come back together or for something to happen with his healing factor where he's functional yet again. Is that going to take more than 2 minutes? Very often it does, right? There are examples where he's dismembered and he kind of comes back together, or like they take some body parts, put them over there, take other body parts, put them over there, and the other body parts come together and form a new Deadpool. Like just really weird stuff. But sometimes, very often it takes way more than 2 minutes when the damage is that severe. So the question is, can Darth Vader do that kind of damage? And the answer is yes, he can. Now, for my point number one, sorry, what's it?
No, I said, okay.
It's Regina. Okay. Bales of hay. Okay. But let me get to my point number one, and let's talk about Darth Vader's force mastery, right? I'm just going to start right there. Vader doesn't need to get in range with an attack, right, to punch you, whatever. With the force, range is kind of just like a suggestion, and the fight becomes a problem you're having from across the room or across space. Remember, this is someone who can force choke someone on another spaceship vast distances away. So even if Deadpool has like bullets he can shoot, Darth Vader can stop him with the Force, but using kind of like these Force kind of shields literally made out of the Force. But he can also like not see you. So if Deadpool takes a defensive position behind something, Darth Vader can use the Force, sense where he is, and Force choke him no matter where he is. Which, by the way, Deadpool might enjoy, because he's really weird like that. All right, on top of that, in the films, you see the baseline. Vader casually, Force chokes mid-conversation. He can shut down blaster fire with calm and crazy surgical control. There's no panic to him, no flinching, just a kind of a you're done now type of attitude. Rogue One, by the way, one of my favorite Darth Vader scenes. He walks down the hallway. He turns that whole thing into a horror sequence in that hallway, and he just uses the Force like a multi-tool. Like he's yanking weapons out of people's hands. He's pinning bodies to the ceiling. He's choking, ragdolling soldiers in his walls and all that, and controlling the entire area while never looking rushed. It's kind of like the same way, Eric goes into Burger King and looks at the menu and says like, oh, there's so many things I could get, but I'm going to take my time and savor this moment. Darth Vader does the same thing, when he's about to attack someone. Okay, on the Disney Plus television series Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi makes it even clearer what top-tier telekinesis looks like in canon for Darth Vader. Vader grabs a departing transport ship. So it takes off. He thinks someone he's after is on that ship. Obi-Wan Kenobi, by the way. It's a huge transport ship. It takes off, and he stops it. The ship is taking off and he stops it. It's massive. And then he brings it back down and then splits it open in this awesome scene demonstrating his power. Pretty sure if he can do that to a transport ship, he can do that to Deadpool in a much easier way. On top of that, the canon Marvel Comics books, really cool series. They double down on this idea with this precise to apocalyptic use of the Force, depending on how annoyed Darth Vader is. My favorite example in Star Wars Vader Down #1. It was back in 2015. Cool comic book. Vader's isolated against this massive rebel force, right? A rebel army, and they've surrounded him. And the entire premise is basically, what if Vader fought an army and the army found out it was a massive mistake to show up? And he takes out the entire rebel army. This is someone who is insanely lethal, precise, and has an army level of ability using the Force just by himself. Deadpool is awesome, especially one-on-one battles. But against someone who can control, and have the ability to take on an army and then take out an army with advanced weaponry, which we can see in Star Wars, that's a completely different level. All that's my point number one.
Whew. Darth Vader is a bad man.
Yes.
Okay? We've known this. There's no question, no debate. Well, this is a debate, but he's a bad man. He's a bad man.
Yeah.
Yes. So his Force, okay? Vader's Force control, it's absolutely deadly. But only against opponents who stay down. Deadpool doesn't stay down. Force choking, crushing, or ragdolling him is pain, not a finish. He literally regenerates from fatal damage as a baseline ability. And that's my rebuttal to your first point, James.
Okay, I like it. There are ways to keep Deadpool down, but I will admit it's hard. It's not an easy thing, and insanely powerful beings have tried and not succeeded. So that's the question, can Vader do it? But it doesn't matter what we think, Eric, because it's up to the judge. Judge Tadeo, you've heard one point from both Eric and myself. Where's your head at so far with this battle?
Well, first I was impressed. So Darth Vader stopped the entire transport ship. That's kind of sticking with me. So this dark entity can stop moving ships already with momentum. And he's so determined. So the hate and the anger in his heart was impressive to do that. But Deadpool, resilience is something that I love. The guys who are just refuse to stay down. I mean, I think that's kind of like what motivates us all, like Rocky, like everything we look forward to. Get up, get up, get up. So we've got just a dark, determined Force for somebody who's just gregarious, fun, and just won't stay down. So I don't know, right now we're kind of teed up for a great battle. I want to see where it goes next.
Very cool. All right. Mm-hmm. Again, I like how Tadeo kind of renders these judgments for point number one. It's more of like, here's what we're doing. Here's a tease that I'm expecting way more fun stuff to be coming our way very quickly. I get it. And I think we're going to deliver. Stay tuned for point number two. And we're back. Eric, hit us with your point number two.
Yeah, so for my point number two here, I want to also get into all of Deadpool's weapons and his skills, all right? So Deadpool isn't dangerous because he's the best at one thing, okay? He's literally dangerous because he's good at everything violent, and he shows up carrying enough hardware to start a small revolution, all right? He's considered Marvel's most armed, top 10 hand-to-hand nightmare, all right? So in terms of his weapons, he does got those twin katanas, okay? And those are his signature weapons because they let him turn close-range fights into a blender. He has, his knives, his improvised blades, so stab, slash, throw. Use the environment like it's literally just part of his kit, all right? So he got all the firearms, the mastery of them across the board. Pistols, SMGs, rifles. He just fights like someone who's done this for money for a long time and tends to get paid off of it, right? And then there's all those explosives, the grenades. So he'll force movement, all right? Break cover and reset the geometry of the fight with boom first tactics, all right? So in terms of training, he's not a meme, he's a pro, all right? He's an elite mercenary with serious combat training, marksmanship. He has close quarter combat, mastery, like I said, knife work and everything. He fights like a trained killer who also has the superpower of not caring if he gets stabbed, which makes his style uniquely hard to read. And this is why I would rank him the top 10 among Marvel fighters, all right? It's his unpredictability and his discipline. So he's chaotic, but it's weaponized chaos is where people get it wrong, all right? So he's able to bait, he could play dead, sacrificing body parts, all for angle and timing. So he fights above his weight class constantly. That's not a problem. He spent years trading blows with monsters, ninjas, super soldiers, and even assassins. So he's not intimidated by any better stats. Darth Vader is not going to be anything new for him. It's just going to be another walk in the park because his whole career is built on beating people who look like they should win. Darth Vader is a kind of winning looking guy when you take a look at him, So his regeneration upgrades his tactics. He can attempt moves other top fighters can't risk. That doesn't make him more skilled in a vacuum, but it makes him a more complete problem in real combat. So bottom line, Deadpool is a top tier Marvel combatant, and that's a big thing for you to be a top tier Marvel combatant, all right? It's all because of, he has a multi-range of weapons that he's mastered with real training, real experience, and a fighting style that also weaponizes pain, chaos, and persistence. So all that, James, is my point number 2.
All great stuff. I mean, I'm not denying anything you just said, and you said it really masterfully as well. What I will say, though, is Darth Vader's kind of seen everything Deadpool can do, fighting-wise and weapons-wise, and pretty much dozens of variations of the exact same thing. Remember, we're talking about someone who was a general by the time they were like 19 in the whatever, army that he was part of as Anakin Skywalker, then became Darth Vader and had another 20 years as Darth Vader to get crazy fighting experience. And remember, Darth Vader is also very hands-on, just like Deadpool. So if he's fighting with the stormtroopers and there's someone who's like, hey, this is a horrible combatant monster, whatever, Darth Vader's like, I got this. And he goes in, he loves going in and taking it out and making a point, because then that's how his legend kind of grows. So as great as Deadpool is, I don't think, and there's even beings with healing factors in Star Wars that are canon to Star Wars. So Darth Vader's already seen a lot of what Deadpool can do. I'm not saying he'll know it right away, but it's not going to take him long to figure out. Because remember, he's a combatant first, a master fighter, and the whole galaxy is afraid of Darth Vader. Whereas on planet Earth, people are more like, oh no, Deadpool's here? Really? They're kind of like annoyed by him, and then they appreciate him, but it's a whole different reason why Darth Vader is what he is. Okay, let me get to my point number 2. My point number 2, I want to talk about lightsaber mastery and cyborg physicals. That's what a lot of people forget about. So Vader's lightsaber skill isn't a kind of like flashy spinning to win kind of thing that we see a lot of Star Wars, Jedi and Sith do, which is really fun. It's efficient, it's inevitable, it's backed by a body that's really cybernetically enhanced, then supercharged again by the Force. That's what Darth Vader brings to the table when he's using a lightsaber. In terms of just lightsaber user, mastery, Vader fights like a guillotine, not a gymnast. Deadpool is going to be flipping around doing all this cool stuff. Yeah, and Darth Vader's just to the point. Ruthless. I'm not flipping around. I'm not moving if I don't have to. Insanely efficient. In The Empire Strikes Back, we see this. He spends most of the duel controlling Luke, toying with him, taking away options, ultimately disarming him in the most literal way possible. Luke loses his hand and his lightsaber, and that's Vader treating Luke Skywalker like a training dummy with dialogue, right? That's also like his son, and he cuts off his hand and then makes an offer like, hey, why don't you join me? I always thought, like, if you're going to cut off someone's hand, if that's an option, and you're like, hey, you want them to join you, make the offer to join you first, and then if they don't do it, then cut off his hand. Don't kind of lead with it. That's just a me thing. I parent a little bit differently, but whatever. In Rogue One, Darth Vader turns a corridor into a slaughterhouse. There's tight angles. There's no escape routes. And Vader's blade work looks like delete everything in front of me. It's not just power. It's lightsaber discipline under chaos. It was awesome. I love the fact they turned it almost like into a horror scene. You know, turning Star Wars into a horror. It's really, really kind of brilliant. And he's got these cyborg upgrades because he's not just a Jedi or a Sith in armor. He's actually enhanced. So on Mustafar, he gets burnt up, you know, Emperor Palpatine finds him, gives him these enhancements. Well, these enhancements aren't just there so he can have normal functionality again. That's not how Emperor Palpatine works. Star Wars canon really says that Vader, as a cybernetically enhanced Sith Lord, it has like these upgrades in physicality, meaning the suit, it's not just like a cosplay choice, a really good one. It's a systems upgrade. He's got super strength, superhuman durability, life support, and the ability to keep operating when a normal body would have quit. And he's got force boosted physical. So he uses the force to make himself even stronger, even faster. Like he's not even like when it's time to use the force to kind of let it go through him, he's better with a lightsaber. He's even stronger. So he's just like got this weird synergy going on as a creature. He's not just a big dude, you know, dressed in cool armor with that lightsaber. There's so much more to him that the comic books really explore. And Vader doesn't only use the force for choking and throwing furniture around like I did that one time when I got a little upset. He actually uses it to make like more enhancements and fighting skills, and like he knows how to like take something off the wall, hit you with it to distract you. He loves doing that kind of stuff. And we saw that in The Empire Strikes Back when he did that with Luke. And I think after a while, he just like was having too much fun. He's like, whack, hit him with something, take a big thing, hit Luke with it, break a window, create a vacuum in space, make Luke fly through it. I'm like, that doesn't even serve your purpose. He's just like, I was just having fun. Again, parenting choice, whatever. Then again, I got to go back to that whole Vader alone versus an entire Rebel Force army, like I mentioned before. And the story wasn't, can he survive? It's like how badly the Rebel Force regrets their life decisions because they surrounded him and they're like, oh, you're dead, surrender, whatever. And Vader said something like along the lines of like, all I hear is like a group of dead men kind of thing. And everyone's like, wait, what? And then he just takes them all out, right? And he's surrounded, by the way. He's not like there's all in front of him in a 300 moment. No, they're encircling him. They have the height advantage. They have the high ground. And they still get wiped out. It's really crazy. Now, why is this going to matter? Because with Vader's blade work and what he can do, he is going to dismember Deadpool. There's a good chance that Vader's lightsaber is going to cut through Deadpool's katanas. If there's a good chance, maybe the bullets are hit or whatever, Deadpool can hit him really hard. But again, Vader, who loves cutting off body parts, he did it to Count Dooku's Anakin Skywalker. He did it to Luke Skywalker, cutting off his hand. He's going to be dismembering Deadpool. Remember, what was that Monty Python movie where all of a sudden there's that knight and his legs are cut off? He's like, it's just a flesh wound. Deadpool will tell, because that was huge in Canada, by the way, back in the day. That's what will happen to Deadpool. And Darth Vader's just going to look at him, this guy, kind of like a stump, I hate to say it, with no arms and legs, and then he's just going to take him out. And as quickly as Deadpool can regenerate, it won't be in under 2 minutes. That's one of possible ways for Darth Vader to get the win. That's my point number 2.
All right, so point well made. So even if Vader does manage to shred or temporarily incapacitate him, Deadpool still regenerates faster than Vader can adapt. So I feel that it's literally making every win temporary. So you can't outskill someone who refuses to stay down, and 2 minutes of control is just another warm-up for Deadpool. Also, Vader's lightsaber skill and cybernetic enhancements are intimidating, but Deadpool doesn't fight like a normal opponent. He thrives in chaos, constantly switching between his knives, katanas, all his guns, all his explosives, all while taking hits on purpose to gain position, and I feel that's going to be too much for Vader to handle, in my opinion.
All right, okay, this is interesting because I like what you're doing. You're coming up with tactics for Deadpool that really kind of leverage what he can do physically and with his weapons, his mercenary training. This is really, really cool. But again, doesn't matter what we think. We got to go to the judge because Judge Tadeo, you've heard 2 points from both Eric and myself. Where's your head at so far with this battle? Who do you think is ahead, I should say, and what does the other side have to do to get the victory?
Wow. Well, in terms of talking and humor, Deadpool's got Darth Vader hands down. But when you reiterated the fact that he toyed with his own son and cut off his hand, that's something kind of to fear. I think as a parent, we need to discipline our kids, but I think there's a limit. Maybe a good belt sometimes.
There you go. There you go.
Grounding, maybe take the cell phones, but any entity that is that cold and is savvy with the lightsaber, which to me is one of the most memorable weapons in the entire universe that has ever existed. But I do like the nightmare and chaos that Deadpool's bringing to the equation. So it's kind of ruthlessness versus chaos. So you kind of got an even battle, but right now I'm leaning in the dark side because anybody willing to hurt their son, whoo! Grounding is one thing, but hand losing is another.
Yeah, it didn't even make sense because in the story, Darth Vader lost his hand as Anakin Skywalker. And you're thinking like, you know, how I got hurt as a kid playing sports or beat up whatever. I don't want my kids going through that.
Correct.
And Darth Vader took the opposite approach. He's like, hey, what I went through, I'm going to make it worse for you. Because look how well I turned out. It just doesn't make sense as a parent.
Yeah, some people shouldn't be parents, by the way. Okay,
That's
back
fair.
to the show.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
for
fair.
sure.
All right, so this is interesting. I've got the lead, but Eric's been on a tear lately. I'm not trusting my lead too much. It's like I've got a field goal, but Eric's like on the 20-yard line. We'll figure this out. Stay tuned for point number 3. That was a football reference, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Interesting.
Canadian football reference.
Yeah, the field's different.
It is different. Yeah. It's different, and it's I didn't say which 20-yard line. It's my 20-yard line, not yours.
Okay.
All right. And we're back. All right, Eric, it's now or never. Here's your point number 3.
All right, here we go. This is for all of our listeners and our honorary in-house judge Tadeo, who we just love having this guy here. Oh, he's something special. I mean, and I'm going to bring it home for him with my point number 3. All right, let's get into it. There you go.
That is the most deviant, evil, maniacal smile I've ever seen Eric do while he was looking at me directly talking about the judge. I don't know what's about that.
It's like the judge isn't even in the same room as us, right? Like literally, like he's not across from me at the table, is he?
Not at all. No.
That's just how I compliment him all day long.
Cautionary tale. This is what a week after going to Burger King does to you. He's seeing hallucinations. He's talking to ghosts. I don't know.
Yes, thank you, buddy.
Casper, go ahead.
Yeah, here we go. All right, so my point number 3. All right. I want to get into Deadpool's biggest wins and some of his biggest feats and why he beats Vader, in my opinion. All right. So one of his biggest feats, it's simple. He's weaponized not dying. So he's been blown apart, chopped up, still keeps coming. Okay. One of the cleanest, you can't put this guy down examples is in the evil Deadpool arc, where severed body parts get tossed out, thaw, and literally reform into a new Deadpool problem that Wade has to fight. That's not a gimmick. It's a statement that conventional disable the body tactics don't stick with Deadpool. Also, he's operated on cosmic stakes, battlefields, and has survived contact with beings who treat armies like speed bumps. In Deadpool versus Thanos, Wade is dealing with Thanos directly, not as a haha cameo, but as an actual running conflict involving immortality, death, and cosmic level consequences. All right. The point isn't Deadpool out muscle Thanos. He doesn't. It's that he can stay in the fight, keep improvising, and keep coming back when a normal combatant would have been reduced to a simple memory. All right. So he's proven he can function on elite kill teams with monsters and still be a difference maker. And literally Uncanny X-Force. X-Force doesn't recruit him because he's cute. Wolverine and his Black Ops team pulls Deadpool in because he's useful when the mission is morally gross and physically suicidal. So quick and easy here. How does he beat Darth Vader? All right. So Vader's normal win condition is control and finish. You know, force, choke, crush, disarm. Deadpool's answer is refuse the finish line. He can eat the first shutdown. You can eat the first shutdown, all right, attempt from Darth Vader. Keep talking, keep moving, and force Vader into repeated solves. So Deadpool's clearest path is battlefield control proficiency, all right? Where he'll turn Vader's life support suit into the weak link with gunfire, explosives, environmental hazards, or just rupturing critical components when he gets close up and personal. Then keep that pressure on Vader until he's down and non-threatening for 2 full minutes, okay? The comedy is the annoyance here. The seriousness is the inevitability that Vader has to be perfect once Deadpool only has to be stubborn forever. And all that's my point number 3, James.
Okay, so here's what I'm about to say. I think the regeneration is a question mark, right? And what I mean by that, I'm gonna argue against myself right now. I love Deadpool as a character so much. I think he represents Canada perfectly in so many different ways. And the fact that he can regenerate, you know, I look at these storylines where one time it takes forever for him to regenerate a leg, right? Just like in the movies, it kind of takes him a while to do it. But in the comic books, he can be very quick. You know, he could cut off his head and it's going to reappear. In other storylines, it takes forever, maybe hours for it to happen. So I'm going to say, let's go with it happens very quickly. So it's not 2 minutes. It comes back in under 2 minutes, right? But as that's happening, he's not moving a whole lot. And what does Darth Vader do really well? He loves to use the Force to pin people with stuff. You know what Deadpool doesn't have a defense against? You know, a mountain crushing down on him. He might heal from it and he'll be all kind of like jacked up and everything, but he's not moving too much. He's getting pinned. And remember, the rules are who would win. It's not necessarily a death match. It's a who can be incapacitated for 2 minutes. So let me get to my point number 3. And for my point number 3, let's just talk about some big wins, big feats, and why I think he beats Deadpool. So the big feat that's consistent for Vader, it's not a single kind of thing or a single duel. It's battlefield control, right? This is a tactician. This is someone who can step onto a battlefield, face off against someone, quickly analyze and say, I know what to do, right? We saw this in Rogue One where he's like after some like plans that someone has, and he just absolutely, like, sure, he decimates everyone, but he controls the battlefield. Like, it's almost like he's walking and strolling through. He's not really moving that fast. It's pretty insane to watch. Again, it's kind of the equivalent of Star Wars meets a horror movie. It was really, really cool. I hate to say this to our religious types. He pulled what I call a Moses maneuver. Okay, in one of the comic books that's canon, he's fighting against someone who engineers this massive flood of water to come rushing at him at this kind of somewhat enclosed space, right? But it's like tons and tons and tons of flooding water coming at him. And what does he do? He just raises his hands, waves them across, and he splits the freaking water like Moses. Now, I'm not saying there's an equivalent to Vader and Moses. I'm also saying there's not an equivalent because, again, you know, Moses killed one of the Egyptian guards and Vader killed many guards of different, I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, he actually controlled the flow of water because he knows how to maneuver and manipulate matter using the Force. He can move it. He can control it. So you take someone who can control the battlefield, assess the battlefield, can move matter. And again, I go back to like when he fought Luke Skywalker and he was toying with him in Empire Strikes Back, where he started taking materials off the wall, chunks of metal, and slamming it into Luke Skywalker, hitting him from behind or from the side. And Luke Skywalker's like, what is happening? And he just gets torn apart. He knows how to use the battlefield as well as control it. So in this battle, he's going to quickly understand. He'll get a great shot on Deadpool. Deadpool will take a knee. Darth Vader will be like, all too easy, or however he says it. And then Deadpool stands up and gives a really fun Canadian comeback like, hey, you know what? You know, that was as fun as poutine. Not that poutine is fun. Anyway, Darth Vader's going to analyze this and be like, there's something different with this person. I don't feel the Force, but they're coming back from everything I'm hitting with. He'll get like a stabby McStabberson kind of thing with lightsaber through his gut, and Deadpool's absolutely fine, like we saw when he fought Wolverine in the movie. And that's when Darth Vader's going to be like, he'll try to choke him, but Deadpool comes back and he's like, got it, pin this guy. He'll either use the Force, pin him against something, push him through an air vent, through a window, battlefield removal, like to get the win, or he'll crush him underneath a bunch of stuff, and he'll be really annoyed that Deadpool is still talking. He's like, I'll get the stormtroopers to clean this up. It's all good. But he'll get the win through incapacitation. That's the difference between these two characters. Deadpool can use regeneration to help him get the win, whereas Darth Vader can use the Force to not even have to touch Deadpool if he doesn't want to and get the win from afar. Because all you got to do is stop him. You don't necessarily have to kill him, and that's something Darth Vader can do very, very well. If you can pull down a starship, you can take off chunks of a wall and bury someone underneath it, I should say. All that's my point number 3.
Whew. Very, very dynamic sequence of examples there and references. And that old famous Canadian dish there, very, very heavy, very greasy. The poutine.
Yeah, because it's horrible, and the emphasis on the poo.
And that cheese and it's like the gravy or something
Why
going on there, right?
Why are you using those hand gestures and looking me with that maniacal smile?
It's like a lower gravy and cheese.
I don't like where those hands are, by the way. That's
do you have a point? It was colorful. Yeah. Anyways, let's finish this up. All right. So look, Vader can pin, dismember, and scatter Deadpool for 2 minutes. Okay, but Deadpool doesn't stay harmless. He's going to use that regeneration. All the chaos, all the knives, all the firearms, explosives, on, and environmental attacks to constantly disrupt the control, right? So 2 minutes of incapacitation isn't victory. It's just enough time for Deadpool to adapt, improvise, and turn that chaos back onto Vader. You can't hold someone harmless who refuses to be held down. So Deadpool will literally refuse by design. That's how he'll get the win over Vader.
All interesting stuff. By the way, I commend you on your debating skills because whenever I come to these battles, I got to really figure out, an X, Y, Z type of battle plan. Bob and weave, swerve, all that kind of good stuff.
Thank you.
I absolutely had to be on my A game for today.
Thank you.
Which is why I'm sorry you're going to lose this. All right, let's go to the judge.
Oof.
Yes, Judge Tadeo, you've heard 3 points from both Eric and
He
myself.
said, yes, Judge Tadeo.
You've heard 3 points from both Eric and myself. Take us through your process. Tell us the story of you well, and tell us who you think wins this battle between Darth Vader and Deadpool.
Well, before I get to recant the battle that I already saw in my head, I want to give a shout out to Ryan Reynolds, his rendition of Deadpool, not Green Lantern, which we've covered before. Right?
That's there you go.
But if you think about it, you got the jovial, fun Ryan Reynolds versus the deepest, darkest James Earl Jones. And I think it's fitting that James with a deep voice played him. So I kind of, and Eric came with the Ryan Reynolds suave look. So I kind of, y'all came ready. You came dressed for the part.
Yeah, thank you.
Now on this episode of Who Would Win, let's get into the battle. Coming into this battle, it's going to be an incredible just carnage and blood and viciousness and just total chaos, which plays into Deadpool, who comes into the battle guns a-blazing with a semi-automatic weapon, just shooting and firing at Darth Vader and thinking that he's going to nullify him and break through his suit. However, with the Force, Darth Vader is easily able to assuage all the bullets coming, dodge them, and maintain his composure. And from there, with his lightsaber spinning around in a 360, nothing too fancy, you see left wrist off, just like he did his son, just cold and callous and calculated. Right wrist off, pinning them to opposite sides of the wall with the Force, then beginning to choke Deadpool. And desperate, Deadpool tries to fling his knife, but it doesn't penetrate the suit and the cyborg armor that Darth Vader now wears. And Deadpool shares a joke that only annoys and reminiscent of Rogue One. When it went total horror, Darth Vader starts to see and take advantage of the incapacitated Deadpool and is severing limbs, arms, legs, everything, and decapitates him. And as Deadpool is rejuvenating, he's lost it. Darth Vader becomes angered, which is hard because the Force is so cold and calculated. And he severs his torso and sends it to another ship. And Deadpool is rendered totally incapacitated, only left with a smug joke as he loses this battle. And the Force, the Dark Force, once again wins.
And there you have it.
Wow.
It's a horrific battle. That's what a lot of people don't get about Darth Vader. Like, they think, oh, yeah, he's a villain. And he's the villain we all love, but he's so dark. He's like, as Anakin Skywalker, remember, he killed a whole village of the Sand People because they kidnapped his mom and even killed the kids. And then he went total dark and killed the Jedi Padawans, the Jedi Temple. Like, this is someone who's, yeah, we love him, but he's ruthless and he's bad. He's really horrible in what he does to beings, to people. He would totally do that to Deadpool, turn him into a torso and then send one part out into space, another part in the garbage compactor and all that kind of stuff, and then crush him, whatever's left over.
Wow.
Will Deadpool regenerate? after a while, sure, but it's way longer than 2 minutes. I love what you're saying.
He loves it. He loves it.
I couldn't agree more.
Of course he
I'm
loves
going to
it.
celebrate by going nowhere near Burger King. In fact, I'll hit the gym and enjoy life for a little bit longer. But that's just a me thing. Eric, I got to find out. You debated super well. How do you feel about this, very definitive loss for Deadpool?
So a very definitive loss, you say. I'm disgusted. I'm raging internally, but I'm trying not to show it because I literally have just internalized Deadpool's chaos and all of his anger. But I'm just trying I'm gripping the table here. The wood's starting to splinter a little bit. But I'm gonna try to do something to work this out and stop sweating like this right now.
You're repping Deadpool, but there's a little bit of Hulk smash kind of coming out of you right now.
Yeah. Maybe that's a battle we should do next at some point.
Deadpool versus Hulk?
Or maybe a Hulk battle of something.
That's fair. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Go on. That gives us an idea. All right. Really cool. But again, great battle. I think you rep Deadpool the exact right way. But in the end, it's not always like powers versus powers. It's like sometimes tactics kind of win out, right? It's kind of like MMA math. You think, this guy's bigger, stronger, whatever. No, if they use slightly different tactics, they have a clear path to victory. Well done. All right, today, again, great job being a judge. Thank you so much. Can't wait for our next episode. Until then, tell Legion of Audience, our fan base, where they can find you online.
You can find me at Cuerpazo, and this week it's kind of sunny in California. Well, it always is. So you can also find me. I'm going to hit the beach of Santa Monica near Ocean Park.
Wait, you're actually going to take time off from being the unofficial mayor of Beverly Hills to go to Santa Monica?
I'm willing to take a day off, depart 20 minutes to the coast, get a little tan.
That's fair.
And head back home.
All right, very cool. Great plan. All right, Eric, tell Legion of Audience, our fan base, where they can find you.
Yeah, they could find me, at that local little dirty little hole in the wall burger spot with all the non-clean grease traps. Also on Sepulveda. If you guys want to come and hang out with me, that's where I'll be at. Just soaping.
You know what? You got to narrow it down on Sepulveda. That's like at least 8, possibly 10 places I can think of.
Yeah, I'm going to take y'all to Sepulveda and let's say Beverly Boulevard up in the valley.
Ooh.
It's a little
we're going to that part.
Oh, yeah, we're going to that part of Sepulveda. No, nothing against it. Nothing against it.
No, you went there.
Nothing against it, but we're gonna just go over the hill.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll meet, around midnight. It gets a little wild around that part. So I'll be there just moping and thinking about this loss. So if you want to meet me in person, if not in person, just there on Sepulveda and Beverly Boulevard.
There is no good that can happen from
not at midnight. Of course not, right, guys?
Why would you?
I just got to deal with this. So that aside, you can find me on social media if you want to have a safe, interaction,
I think
safer, if you will.
Call me crazy. But
yeah. So it's at the THE Eric with the C Holmes. Let's connect.
It's funny. You gave 2 great options. I'm weighing the pros and cons. Connect with you on social media or go to this horrible place at 12 o'clock in LA.
Angry guy walking around.
Took
an L on the podcast.
Yeah, there's just no good that can. Well, we'll let the Legion of Audience members to figure out for themselves what's good. You can find me. As I pull this up, hold on one second. Here we go. I should know this. All right. You can find me on X, aka Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by typing in at James Gavsie. You won't find me at Sepulveda and that godforsaken place at 12 o'clock.
There you go.
Night. You can also find us on Instagram and Threads and TikTok at Who Would Win Show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube by going to at Who Would Win Show. Yes, that's right. Our podcast is finally on YouTube. On behalf of myself, Eric Holmes, Tadeo, and the rest of the amazing Who Would Win production team, thank you once again for checking out another episode of Who Would Win. We'll see you next time.